Most people would come to Italy for the romance, a nice holiday in the sun with the Mediterranean heat, or just to go and see the sights. The only sight we want to see here at Imola, in Italy, is some great racing. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon if it's that time in your part of the world, or good morning, or even good night. We are here for what is technically the second round of the Pro Series of Power F1 Season 5. I say technically the second round because the first race results were invalidated for various reasons that I'm sure I'll be discussing about later or chatting about later. But for now, we get underway in qualifying for the next round of the Pro Series. Here in Power F1, I'm your host Lars. I'm flying solo, or rather driving solo, in the combox today, as I take you through this journey with 18 of the best drivers this league has to offer, the cream of the crop, and the Imola circuit is a fitting battleground for all of them to showcase their skills. Let's get straight into it. I remind you, for those of you who haven't been with us, this is different from our Challenger series. We do a full qualifying session just as they do in real life, so 3 qualifying sessions, each eliminating the bottom 5 drivers. In this case it's only the bottom 3. We have 18 drivers on the grid today, and the second session eliminating another 5, and the final session with a top 10 shootout for pole. Looking down the grid today, we have Benjo, Suyan, iCrazy, Tixie, Lil Gissa, or Gissa, I still don't know how to say that, I never asked in the Discord, James Taylor, Nara, Catastropheus, JTK, Chewy, Bradley, Persigili, Mali, Thomas D coming up from Challenger as a reserve for today. He did very well last time out here yesterday, getting another podium. He's really come alive so far this season and hoping to showcase what he's capable of at the highest level. Resser, also here from Challenger, although he may soon be moving up to Pro in full time. We'll keep you posted on that. Lil Glona, emphasizing the L this time so that I can actually see it. Thank you very much for that. Rickety and Roy rounding out all these drivers. So just trying to get on task with who is actually first across the line. Who's got the fastest lap time of the minute? I want to say it's going to be iCrazy that'll be first to set a lap here in the Aston Martin. So yes, as I was saying, just while we're waiting for them all to come around, yes, the first race results, you remember if you were watching here last time, in Bahrain, were invalidated because the settings were incorrect. Safety car was not activated, red flags were not activated, and the stewards feel that because of the incidents during that race, it would have influenced the results. So they felt it was unfair to base the results and make them stand. So although this is technically round 2, this may as well be round 1 because all the drivers are starting on a clean slate, 0 points, and it's anyone's game in the championship at the minute. And first to try and stamp down his authority on it is iCrazy with a 1:15.5. Just waiting for these first batch of times to go in. Looks like we have one of the Alpha Tauris coming to the line next. That is going to be Lil Gissa, and they said a 1:16 dead. Benjo just starting his lap. After that we have, if I can find him, no, it's not Roy, it is, that'll be Thomas D coming to the line, and a 1:16.3, that's not bad, that's not bad. Remember, he is Challenger by default. Way quicker than Catastropheus, who seemed to have an absolute mare of a lap on a 1:28. That's obviously not a competitive time. Benjo on his way round. His teammate has also just started his lap. Got one of the Astons coming to the line. That'll be Suyan starting his run. One of the Mercs also coming to the line. This is James Taylor, and he goes pole so far. I say pole, just fastest time of the session, 1:14.7. It's very interesting to see the tactics with some of these drivers. Some of them just go straight full beans out of the gate, like the likes of James Taylor and Resser, and then some of them tend to hang back a bit. I mean, iCrazy, we know that they're quick, but obviously holding back a little bit there, as they're almost a second down. Just seeing if we can maybe get an onboard with any of the drivers here. Who has not started their lap yet? Who's on an out lap? Mali's on an out lap. So just while the rest of the bankers are coming in, I'll take you on a wee onboard around the legendary Imola circuit. Obviously it's gone through several variations over the years, not least 1994 after the tragic accident of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger, which changed a lot of the track. But across the start-finish line, past the Valiente Bassa. I'm not very good with Italian, so apologies for my pronunciation. Long back straight down here into 2, 3 and 4, the Valiente Tamburello. This is the corner that was remastered. It used to be a concrete wall on the outside. Shows you how far safety has come since those early days. Up to the Valiente Villeneuve, down to 5th gear through this complex. 4th gear actually for Mali. Interesting way to take the line. Up to the very slow left-hander of Tosa, turn 7. Climbing up the hill. I remember Schumacher and Montoya battling here, and Montoya being squeezed onto the grass. He wasn't happy with that. The king of turn 8 leads into the Piratella of turn 9. So easy to go wide on that corner and down into the legendary Acqua Minerale. Zooming down the hill and having to get your braking point just right. You want to carry the speed through, not unsettle the car on the bumps. Up to Valiente Alta, up at the top of the hill, hence what the Alta is for, altitude. We all remember Leclerc going off there in the closing stage of the 22 race. And down to 17-18 at Revazza, a deceptively hard braking point here. You're going downhill, you've got to remember the extra speed you're carrying. Don't be overzealous on the throttle, otherwise you'll go wide and invalidate the lap at the very last minute. Hug the wall as close as you dare to save time. Mali nearly hugging it a bit too close there. And setting a 1:15 dead. Nice view of the lap there. Couple of other times coming in there. Little Glona as our current fastest time with a 1:14.7.2. Mali there, we already mentioned about Suyan has set a lap as well. Catastrophes has set a better time of a 1:15. Little Glissa on an out lap for their second run, a 1:16. Chewy with a 1:16.1. Thomas D still at the back with that 1:16.3, but he's not a million miles away from the pro tiers. Just shows you how close and competitive even the gap between Challenger and Pro was. Because of course it's not like Formula 1 and Formula 2, they all drive the same cars, they're all things being equal. This is all about skill. And just seeing who we got on a lap at the minute. Chewy is backing off. Mali will be on their cool down lap. Is this Benjo's second run? No, he's coming into the pits. Tixi is starting their lap, as is Lil Glissa going for a second run. Apologies for the pause menu popping up. I'm just going to check the YouTube chat just in case anyone has said anything. Sorry, mein Führer, Artemis Esports telling me off there, because we are sponsored by Artemis Esports. I completely forgot about that. I wasn't to know, sir. I apologize. Obviously that means that you can all hear me, so that should be all fine on that regard. Also, apologies for the engine sounds. I'm sorry, I always race with the V8 engine mod on. I keep forgetting to take it off. These are not V8 cars, although can you imagine if they were? Ground effect with a hybrid engine. Can you imagine a hybrid V10 or hybrid V12? Gosh, the power you get out of that thing would be nothing ordinary. But back to our quali. Chewy up to P7 there. Tixi setting their lap now. JTK is also on the lap. We've got Rickety and Roy coming around as well, and that's the yellows at the top of the hill. That's just a car slowing down, I think. That's okay. As Tixi goes fastest with a 14.3. So definitely no holds barred there for Tixi. Who else have we got coming to the line? Lil Gissa improving to P8. As you can see, you'll see yellow flags popping up constantly. That's in quality. That's usually just drivers getting out of the way and trying to find themselves a gap. It's a deceptively tricky art. Getting ready for your quali lap. A lot of people think it's just, oh well, you know, you get in your car, you do one little lap, shake the tires off, and off you go. But it's way more complicated than that. You want the tires at a good temperature. You don't want them overheated or underheated. You want a nice gap to the car in front, because if you're within a second you start getting the dirty air effects. It's a very tricky thing to do, and we do have a car stopped at the top of the hill. That's one of the Ferraris. Is that Castro? It was Castro. He seems to have recovered now though. And no damage from the looks of it, so whether he was just letting everyone go through, and you can see where it's a bit of a problem actually. Castro trying to find a gap there. We've got a whole gaggle of cars in Sector 2. Involving there's Suyan. And you can see them trying to let people through, whilst also preparing for their own lap. As Benjo retires. Now that was in the pit lane. And that's a very early retirement. There's 7 minutes left in the session. So plenty of time for people to improve. I wonder why he's done that. I'll check the Discord chat in a second, or Team Radio as I like to call it. At the minute, in the drop zone, we have Nara, who hasn't set a lap. Bradley and Priscilla. So the only ones in the drop zone are the ones who haven't set a lap. And if they all improve, then that means Chewy, Thomas D, and Castro would be in the drop zone. I remind you, the bottom 3 will go out this session. It's normally the bottom 5, but we only have 18 drivers instead of 20. And it looks like Castro's backed off on this lap. Indeed he has. Oh! I hope that Red Bull was not on a lap. That was Bradley. He was on a lap as well. That was Bradley. And he's used all his ERS. I don't know if he's actually making this lap count, or if he's just coming back to the pits. I assume he's going to bail. Because... no, he is going to the line. It's not going to be a particularly quick lap. May I say, as he does a 1:14.6. How did he do that with no ERS? That is incredibly impressive. As Rocco joins the session, he was due to come in, I believe. Now, whether he's allowed to take part in quali or whether he has to start from the back remains to be seen. But that'll be 19 drivers. As we watch, we'll keep an eye on these ones in the drop zone. Thomas D going out for another run. Castro's on another run, but he's invalidated. You can see the map showing up red, means he invalidated the lap by going wide. Narista does a 1:24.8, which obviously isn't representative. And it's as you were in the drop zone. Chewy surviving at the minute by the skin of his teeth. Tixie saying Bradley got held up for an entire lap almost. Benjo calling out my engine mod. Nuts to it, I love the V8s. I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. As Tixie retires from the fastest lap there, so thinking they've done enough. I'm gonna say it though, I love the V8 sound mod. Don't get me wrong, the V6s sound a lot better than they used to, but you know, the characteristic engine scream, it's a part of F1, you know. Anyway, I'll try and remember to remove it next time, but sure. Doesn't make any difference to the actual game, so as we watch Narastaya, is it Narastaya? I have no idea. Coming round. This looks like a proper lap this time. Is it enough to get them out of the drop zone? Just about keeping it within track limits. DRS hugging the wall. And it's the fastest lap. So that puts Chewy in the drop zone. Chewy into the drop zone. Along with Thomas D and Castro. We'll keep an eye on these ones. Thomas D has actually invalidated this lap, it seems. No, wait, no. No, he will be allowed to carry on with this one, so he's on the lap. Chewy's on an out lap. Castro will get one more chance. He's in the pits at the minute. Safety is only 2/10 from the safe zone to the bottom of the field. So I'd say, you know, if it's a scruffy lap, you could easily find half a second. Even as far as P10, maybe even P7 may not be safe. You know, if you find half a second, that's going to bump a bunch of the field down. So 3 minutes to go and still all to play for here. Everyone's still in the pits, apart from Nada, who's on her cooldown lap, and the bottom 5, who are on laps at the minute. And Thomas D apparently has invalidated. Yep, and you can see he's backed off there, trying to recover his ERS. As Suyan retires from P10, maybe just not wanting to change that time, because it's a 1:15.000. That's one of those times where it's just like you don't care if you're eliminated, you just want to keep it on that sweet, sweet number. Chewy is on his lap, and as I said, he's improved in Sector 1 by half a second. As Persigili retires, he says he's done enough. But Chewy up half a second in Sector 1 alone. And it's dangerous at the bottom here. Mali retires as well. I don't know if I'd have retired Mali. I'd have tried to get out for one more run. Because you are in the 115. I think anyone in the 115s is at risk of being kicked out of the session here. Because people are improving. Chewy making his way past the Alfa Romeo, or Aston Martin. That'll be Abai Crazy, who is on his outlap. And apparently Chewy has invalidated? I didn't see where on my screen. It must have been at the top of the hill. Probably at Variante Alta. He's backing off and he's going to have to go for another run here. He will not get back to the pit lane. Does he have enough ERS to do a proper run? That's a shame because he improved. Thomas D is boxing. He's done. He'll be out. He can't set another lap. He won't have time. Catastropheus is also going quite slowly. Hasn't invalidated, but he's waiting until the track is as dry and warm as it can be. Lil Gissa is on the lap here. Rickety's on the lap. JTK boxes. He's P13. That's the best he's going to be able to do. So he has to hope and pray. Roy potentially at risk as well. I think anyone in the top 10 is pretty much safe here. iCrazy's going for another run anyway. Just to play it safe. Everyone else staying in the box. They may as well retire now. They won't make it down to track in time. iCrazy's in the fastest Sector 2 apparently. Granted, that could be a glitch. And let's see who's going to be up to the line first. Catastropheus is on his lap. It's going to be Chewy who comes line first. Thomas D is on an out lap actually. And do you know what? He will make it round, I think. And Chewy's backed off. He spent the entire lap harvesting ERS, and these two are coming to grief with each other. 30 seconds left, and Thomas D is way too close. He needs to back off. He's trying to get past him, and he does go past him. No gentleman's agreements here, like George Russell would have you believe. So, this is it. Thomas D and Chewy. Catastrophes is improving slightly. Lil Gissa is improving slightly. Rickety will be first across the line of these ones towards the tail end of the field. Rickety improves by a 10th but stays 14th. Chewy has boxed, so Chewy is out of the session. He's P16 at minimum. Chewy is eliminated. Who will be next across the line? Gissa improves to P13. Rickety now on the cusp. Catastropheus improves to P16, but not enough to get through. It's all down to Thomas D. He's a 10th up in Sector 2. I didn't see what the time deficit was for Sector 1. Or apologies, sorry, he was a 10th up in Sector 1. Which would get him P16. He needs to find 2 more tenths to displace Rickety. He's found a little bit in the second sector. He's gone well wide. And he's invalidated. That's it. Thomas D is out. Lost it at the top of Valiente Alta. Thomas D is out. So Rickety breathes again. And he boxes. It wouldn't have been enough anyway. It would have been about 3 tenths, as there goes the polystyrene braking marker. Thomas D bashing it in frustration probably. It wouldn't have been enough to get him to safety, but it would have moved him probably above Catastropheus. So that's it. As Rickety boxes as well. Catastropheus, Chewy and Thomas D are your 3 first to fall in qualifying. Rickety breathes again just. It was close actually. The top 10, or sorry, from 11th actually down to 15th, so the ones who are in the next drop zone, only covered by 2 tenths. all top 15 within a second of each other. So it's going to be a close run affair. But first blood goes to Nara in the Williams. In fact, it's a clean sweep from the Finns, first, second and third in the first qualifying session. And we say goodbye to Catastropheus, Chewy and Thomas D. A valiant effort from Thomas D, it must be said. He is only challenger, but literally 2/100ths off of Chewy and only a 10th off of Castro. That's impressive. Well done to him. Let's see here, just while we're waiting. I'm going to check the YouTube chat for a second. Gamma B says, Lars, my goat. My man. And Benjo saying it's not real. Nothing is real. Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Shouts to anyone who gets the reference. As we get ready for Q2, and that is Benjo wasting no time at all. Same for iCrazy. Straight out of the stocks. And we are underway for Q2. Times are reset. And we get another shot at the quali times. Bottom 5 will get eliminated. Just trying to find the tier chat for Pro. As we watch iCrazy. They will be first out, followed by, that will be Lil Glona. And Benjo. Along with Rickety after them. Suyan will be 5th. No, he won't. He'll be 6th to cross the line because Lil Jissa has overtaken. And we'll get the times coming pretty thick and fast. As we see iCrazy coming down the hill through Rivazza and onto the Variante Bassa to start their run. We'll go for another onboard. Goes across the line to start the lap. Hug the wall, close as you dare. Saves every little 100th. Let's see what gear they go for. 4th gear. Just bumping slightly over the curbs. So easy to mess these curbs up. They're quite lethal around here at Imola. 6th, 5th, 4th. That's the way most of the Challenger drivers would take that corner. 3rd gear. Ortosa. Up towards Pirlatella. Some will take this in 6th. Others will take it in 5th. It's 5th for iCrazy. Just keeping it within the track limits. Down to Aqua Minerale. Brake as late as you dare. Don't run wide on exit because that's basically a sausage curb. Up to Variante Alta. These curbs, you can see the sausage curbs, the yellow sausage curbs on the inside there. They will try to force you wide on the exit, which is an instant invalidation if it happens. Under the bridge to Rivazza again. Long left-hander, so easy to run wide on exit here. That's nice and clean from iCrazy. And the first lap time will be a 14.8. As Lil Glona with a 1:16.3. Rickety will be next across the line. 1:15.9. 1:15.1 for Benjo. Lil Glissa will be next. 1:15.7. Next up, the Red Bull of Mali, who is on their outlap. Sorry, I apologize. And we've got the other Aston Martin of Suyan behind. Now he is on the lap, and you'll get a little bit of a tow here. Not much, but it's enough to get him on a 1:15 dead. We've got Roy on his out lap. And the other one will be James Taylor on his lap coming round. And goes fastest with a 14.8. Mali currently on their lap. Just coming up to the end of Sector 1. Heading up to Piratella. All the other drivers on an out lap. Just starting their runs. Persigili has begun his lap. Mali. The camera angle was a bit deceptive there. I wasn't sure if the Williams was going to go the way. It did, thankfully. That'll probably be Rezer. As Mali comes across the line, goes P5. That was Rezer. Starting his lap. I think Roy is next across the line. He's apparently gone purple sector 2. But he's coming up across a lot of traffic. Woof! The speed zip past that Aston Martin. And that's invalid. You see what I meant with running wide on the curbs there. And he's missed the pit lane as well. So he'll have to go for another lap. He could recharge if he wants, but the tyres will be struggling at that point. What's next? We've got the Mercedes of Persigili. Mercedes 1-2. What is this? 2020 all over again? Just looking at who else we've got on track. That's Rezer. Maybe I got them mixed up. It must have been Nara I was looking at to invalidate them. I don't know. It's been a long day. But Rezer coming round. Looks very understeery, the car. But maybe that's the way you want to go. Some drivers complaining about rear stability in this Gears game. So, myself included, I must say. So, maybe understeer is the way to go. It's certainly proving well for Rezer. He's done a 1:14.6. Which puts him P2. What can his teammate do? Nara. She can go P2, or he, I don't know. If they're boy or girl. Either one works. Because unlike the Formula W series, we could probably make women drivers actually successful. I'm sorry, was that a bit of a low blow? Maybe it was. Still. It was a nice idea. Don't give up the day job, Formula W. That's the Ferrari of JTK starting his lap. Roy is on a lap. Just appreciating. Yeah, maybe we don't need the same physical fitness as a real-life F1 driver, but that doesn't detract from the skill that it takes to pilot these cars on the ragged edge. If anything, it's harder in some ways in a virtual car because without those strains on your body, there's no physical limit telling you when to stop. You've got to figure that out for yourself. It's like driving a ghost car. You know that there's physical limits that the car can take, but you have no idea what they are until you reach them. And Roy pushing the car for all it's worth. And it looks to be a good time. It's P4 at the minute. Still 3 drivers haven't said time. Bradley invalidated on his last run. JTK is coming through the Rivazza now. He's kept it clean. He'll set a time. Tixie's on out. They'll have to set their time. And JTK goes P7. So, in the drop zone at the minute is Little Jissa, Rickety, Lil Glona, Tixie, and Bradley. 2 drivers yet to set a time. Only Lil Glona in the 1:16s. Top 7 are all in the 1:14s. And there's I imagine there were some scruffy laps on the bankers because there's way more of a gap between the drivers here. It's 2 seconds separating first to 13th. So you'd imagine that a lot of them have places to improve upon. As Bradley is underway for his next lap. Of course, won the race last time out. Quite convincingly in Bahrain, albeit it wasn't for any points, but seems to be a bit stiffer competition this time. And he's invalidated again. Bradley feeling the pressure? Surely not. But that's another invalidation. Who else is on a run at the minute? Benjo coming around looking to improve his time. It's P9 at the minute. Goes up to P2. Big improvement there. Suyan has improved by a 10th in Sector 2. And Bradley will retreat to the pit lane. Will he not? No, he won't. That's surprising. I thought he had no ERS. Suyan goes P5. Bradley going for another run with only 25% ERS. He thinks he's got enough in the tank. But you see how quickly it's burning. Let's just go on board with the Red Bull. It's already down to 10%. Maybe just thinking, look, I need to get a banker in here. But if he sets this as his banker, he'll be hard-pressed to get another lap in. As Tixie puts a time on the board and goes fastest. 3/10 quicker. Well, 2 and a bit tenths quicker than Persigili. Tixie showing to be a real threat so far in this qualifying session. And Bradley, I mean, it's a decently quick lap, but he's going to run out of ERS. He's already got the light on, he's charging. And we'll have to see what he can do. 2%, 1%. He's barely keeping it above the minimum as Benjo retires from P4. He thinks he's done enough. And he does bail for the pits, does Bradley. Without setting a time, he's going to have one chance to get out of this bottom group, which consists of JTK, Lil Gissa, or Gissa, Mali, Rickety, and Bradley himself. Who's on the cusp? iCrazy is less than a 10th from the drop zone. James Taylor basically is a 10th from the drop zone. Roy's about 2/10, Suyan about 3/10, same for Resser. If those bottom 5 improve by, they don't have to improve by much. And this whole order could change. If I was Benjo, I wouldn't have retired. I'd have prepped myself for potentially a quick last run. So we have Nara on an outlap along with iCrazy, JTK, and Mali. It's JTK who'll be first to start a run. As Tixie retires, they've had enough. They say they're done. As we get a Dutch camera angle again. And we wait with bated breath. As JTK enters the last chance saloon. Suyan retires. That's only from P7. That's very brave. Let's watch the sector times in the top right of your screen. Resser has also retired, and JTK has stopped. I mean, if he's quick, he'll have time to go round again, but that was very strange what he did there. Lil Gissa has not left the garage yet. I see some movement. That'll be her coming out now. Mali is on the lap. Rickety has just started his last run. 9. We missed Sector 1 there. I didn't see it, unfortunately. Let's see what happens through Sector 2. Mali needs to find at least 4/10, if not half a second improvement. Coming up to the interval. 3/10 quicker, plus whatever she was quicker in the, or he was quicker in the first sector. I really must do that at some point. I must just ask the drivers, right, what do you want to be referred to by your gender? Because some could be girls. We genuinely don't know. Molly's left the session. What happened there? And they've teleported back to the garage. Well, if that's the case, then Molly's out. I'm checking the Discord. But Molly is now out of this session. Was going quicker in the third sector and just disappeared from our screens. It's quite extraordinary. Rickety comes round. Has he done enough? He's kept it clean, but is it quick? From P14 to P11! A 10th shy of safety. Molly's out. Little Gissa is starting their final run, literally with 1 second to go across the line. JTK is down in his second sector. Bradley will be next to cross the line. Can he displace Roy? Very nearly went wide there. Looks to be a quick time. And it's good enough for a second. Roy is out unless he's on a lap. He is on a lap. Rickety down to 12th. JTK is quicker by 2/10, but he was down in sector 1. Is it enough? It's P9. Suyan is eliminated. Roy is on a lap, but he's down. Rickety is already out. Little Gissa is on a lap. Molly is out. So Roy and Lil Gissa are the only ones who can improve on their times. Roy will be first across line. He's down in sector 2. Gissa is also down in sector 3 and has invalidated, so Gissa's out. It's all down to Roy. Can he do anything? Safety is a 10th away. He didn't invalidate there somehow. To the line, and it's not enough. He doesn't improve. Well, improve slightly, but it's all over. So, Suyan, who retired earlier on, is eliminated, along with Roy, Rickety, Little Gissa, and Mali. And poor old Mali. James Taylor and Suyan are typing. Poor old Mali just disappeared from our screens. Twice 11th in a row, so close. Mercedes are cooking out. 20 thousandths was the gap from safety, and it was. Suyan was so desperately close. So was Roy, actually. So there's your confirmation of who's eliminated. Did we get Molly back in the session? Is anyone able to confirm? But Tixie strikes again. Wins Q2, no points for it, but personal pride. Bradley, though, striking back hard with a P2. Just over a 10th down. And we've lost Suyan, Roy, Rickety, Lil Gissa, and Mali. I Crazy saying, very close, didn't break a sweat at all. Suyan saying he wanted to save one salt for the last Q3, but it came back to bite him. And 11th isn't the golden place it used to be. You don't have to start the race on the tyres you qualified on. Back in the day, 11th place was sometimes sought after by a lot of teams. But anyway, we are into Q3. Who will take pole here at Imola? Will it be Benjo in the Alfa Romeo? I Crazy in the Aston Martin, the Haas of Tixie, the Mercedes of James Taylor, Nara in the Williams, JTK in the Ferrari, the Red Bull of Bradley, the other Mercedes of Percy Gili, the other Williams of Rezer, or the Alpha Tauri of Lil Glona. It's great to see the mix of constructors in there. Only two teams have both cars through, the Mercedes and the Williams. And they all file out onto the track, with Nara leading them through. Suyan off to get something to eat. Bring something back for me, will you? You going down the offie? Give me a cornetto. And some Pringles. Ooh, let me get the telemetry up there for you guys, just while they're on their outlap, checking the YouTube chat. David posting a lot in the chat. Benjo in there as well. Game be like you streaming League Race, well, how about the worst camera angle possible? Honestly, it's like FOM never left. So, Nara's fallen back a bit. It's going to be James Taylor that will lead them across the line, followed by iCrazy. As we prepare for the opening sortie, as these daredevil drivers begin their final assault for pole position. Who will it be? We wait with bated breath. JTK saying, mate, I was... bad word in there. Bricks. If it was Twitch, I would probably allow myself to swear a bit more, but this is YouTube, and we all know what they're like, so... we'll try and keep it PG-13, as it were. JTK basically saying he was the equivalent of sweating. I'm only in the comm box and I'm sweating. It's not even that warm here today. I'm just excited. As James Taylor launches his opening salvo with a 1:14.8, not the fastest absolute time we've seen. iCrazy responds with a 14.9. Nara 1:14.5. Tixie 1:14.1. Rezer 14.3. Benjo 14.9. Just behind iCrazy. Lil Glona 14.7. Bradley will be next. He put himself under a bit of pressure, whether intentionally or not, in the previous session. And he has yet to overhaul Tixie. Tixie, the one to beat at the minute. 0.2 quicker than the nearest car. Bradley to the line. Oh, 14.144. 300ths off of pole. And that was him trying, I believe, as well. Like, full on trying, so... first blood to Tixie. We've got a Ferrari facing the wrong way. As JTK, who was on his lap, has ended up in the gravel. Where is that? That's at Tamburello. Must have hit the curbs just a bit too much. Persegili is on the way round. Let me see if I can get the YouTube chat up on the screen here. There we go. There we go, now I can see the YouTube chat. Okay, David is really involved in this. As Persegili now takes pole with a 14.043. I came out of nowhere. And Persegili, who's not been topping the timesheets all session, suddenly finds himself on pole. And, wow. Lars, why is the F1 sound so different? Because I have a mod on this game that makes it sound like V8 engines. It does not change how the cars perform in any way, shape or form, it just makes them go neum instead of brrrr. Don't get me wrong, I love the V6 turbos, especially when the turbo spools down and you hear that jet engine whine sort of thing. But let's just face it, the characteristic scream of the cars is too good to miss. I'll try and remember to take it off next time I'm streaming, but I prefer to race with it on. David saying his time trial best was a 14.5. Hey, don't knock it, man. That would be good enough for P5 at the minute in the Pro series. It's not V10, it's actually V8. V10 would be way higher pitched. Way higher pitched. Because unlike some of you whippersnappers out there, I'm old enough to remember the old V10s. Started watching back in '99. Saw the legends battling, Schumacher, Hakkinen, Alonso when he was a rookie in Minardi, babyface Raikkonen when he showed up in Sauber, Quick Nick, David Coulthard, also known as the Flying Scotsman, Barrichello, the unluckiest Brazilian who ever lived. Good times, good times. The momentous title battle of 03, 05, when Schumacher finally lost his reign of dominance. Hamilton's rookie year in 07, and his first title in 08 is that Glock. And of course, Sebastian Vettel's rise to power. F1, even in recent years, has had a great series of battles, and hopefully we can live up to some of that hype, and it's certainly looking promising right now with the drivers we have on show here. Nara, fastest in Sector 2, apparently. Bro, why is Rezer in Challenger Series? I don't know, all he's doing is guaranteeing that he moves up to Pro, probably. That's probably all he's secured himself a drive. He's the Danny Ricciardo. So who's the De Vries that's going to get knocked down to Challenger? That's the question. How that didn't invalidate, I have no idea, but Nara is carrying on here. As we get the Dutch camera angle again. Round the final turn. Just running wide, but still within track limits apparently. And improves up to P4, 14.2. Who else have we got on the lap? Tixi has improved by about a 10th in the second sector. David saying, don't worry, I'll try and beat him. More power to you, man. Oh, and Tixi invalidates. You just saw them going wide over the curb. That lap's invalidated. But Tixi has the pace to take pole as we see Bradley leaving the pit lane. Nara will be on her way round. Benjo and JTK on their laps. Who's further ahead? JTK is further ahead. Spun on his first attempt. He's keeping it clean so far. As we have yellows in Sector 3, that'll be iCrazy slowing down to prep for his lap. You better get a move on. JTK is coming down the hill. Using the last millimeter of every spot, Jesus. Yeah, well, you've got to remember, of course, as well, netcode. Sometimes it looks like they go wide on our screen when they really actually haven't. Netcode is still a thing because as JTK goes P6, we still use peer-to-peer connection in this game. I mean, it's not like EA can afford the central servers or anything. Kappa. As Benjo now takes P6. Nara is in the box. Resser is starting his lap. Bradley on the lap as well, or on that lap I should say. Tixi is going for another run, but they're 2/10 down this time on their final run. And they're out of ERS as well. I don't think Tixi's going to get pole. Oh, what a shame, and running slightly wide there as well. No, that'll be it for Tixi because they will not have time for another run. Nara won't have time either. If you're on an outlap or out on track at the minute, this is your chance. Crazy's on a lap. Taylor is starting his lap. Right, Crazy will be next across the line. Currently P10 with a 14.9. Sector times did seem to show improvement. And now Crazy will go 7th with a 14.4. Not bad. JTK boxes, that's his session done. Persegili starts his final run. His teammate is now down in P10. One at the front, one at the back. Lil Glona starts their final run. Benjo across the line to start his final run. He's only got 50% ERS, but he's going to give it a try. Reser boxes, he's done with P5. Bradley, 2/10 up in Sector 2. Was it a clean Sector 1? Is this pole? It is! 14.006. James Taylor will be next across the line. Just within track limits. Is it going to be enough? It's good enough for P4. Only a 10th down. Persegili is a 10th up in the second sector. Can Persegili snatch victory from Bradley's grasp? Keep it clean in the final corner. He does. Is it enough? 1:13.7 from Persegili. That's the first time in the 13s, and that is pole. Lil Glona stays P10, but improves by half a second. Oh no, sorry, it doesn't say P10. They said P10. Goes P5, I apologize. You're saying Geez Louise Bradley. It's Persegili, who absolutely at the end, let's be honest, trounces the field. 2/10 up on Bradley, the only driver in the 113s. No shot indeed, David. So, confirmation of your grid. Persegili takes pole position for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Bradley along the front row beside him. Tixie in 3rd. James 4th. Lil Glona 5th. Nara in 6th. Rezer 7th. Who, he may say, oh, I only finished 7th, but you know what, that's still good enough for pro tier. Benjo 8th. iCrazy 9th. And JTK bringing up the rear in 10th. Though only, if we round it up, 7/10ths down. 7/10 from 1st to 10th. That is incredible. The pace of these drivers is insane. But now, with the excitement of quali over, it's time for the even bigger excitement of the race. Let's pray that they're clean down into turn 1. We had a red flag in Challenger 1 in the Challenger Series for a massive incident at turn 1. It's a big long run down to that first chicane, and then it gets incredibly narrow with those high curves. It's a prime opportunity for some accidents. Hopefully none of that today, as we are waiting for players. They're all sorting out their strategies. David is hyped. Hopefully everyone else is as well. Just going to briefly... And do we have a formation lap? We should do. Yes, we do. We have formation lap because the settings are all proper this time. So Persegili leads them away. My lads and lasses out in YouTube land, I want you typing. What's your predictions for the race? Give me your podium predictions. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Will Persegili carry on his fine form in the race and take a win? Will Bradley recoup his losses and take the win? Can Tixie, who dominated early on in quali, find the pace to take a win today? James Taylor, always sort of lurking there. Same for Lil Glona. Could they be a surprise today? Nara showed good pace, but just wasn't able to find it in the final session. What about their pace today? Rezer, originally in Challenger, could he get a win and basically guarantee himself a shot at pro? We do have 19 on the grid. Rocco missed qualifying. Thank you for spotting that, David. Rocco missed qualifying. He is allowed in here. He is a pro driver, so he will start at the back of the grid. Benjo, Could he pull out a surprise today? iCrazy has shown pace there or thereabouts. Maybe JTK could pull a surprise or two. Suyan, Roy, Rickety. I mean, it's anyone's game at this point. Thomas D. He's gotten 2 podiums in Challenger already this season. And he says it's not about being quick, it's about consistency. And if he keeps his nose clean, who knows where Thomas D could end up. We've been surprised before. And Rocco with a massive challenge today, starting at the back of the grid. What can he do? Looking at the tyre compounds, we've got a bit of a mixture of hards and mediums. Bradley straight on the mediums, probably looking to get the jump on Persegili and make the overtake. I would say overtaking is hard here, but it is in the corners, but the back straightaway, DRS and slipstream, so powerful this year. And you do wonder if maybe the hard runners are they're probably expecting to lose a couple of places as Rocco moves into position, last car on the grid. You see what looks like Nara pointing directly to the right, looking to get a good position on the grid. They're all sitting on the grid. I hope we haven't had a glitch here. We should be going. Why have we stopped? David, just seeing your prediction there. Bradley, James, Rezer. You think Persegili's going to fall foul? Safety car will be interesting. I don't think we're going to get any sort of cars at the minute. We appear to have an issue, folks. Lobby bugged. Yep. Oh, Codemasters. Yes, I assume that was because Rocco joined and the game is now trying to compensate. Our apologies, folks. We may have to do a lobby restart. Well, lovely atmosphere anyway. Who is that that's out of place on the grid? It's Rezer, actually. It's Rezer who had himself at a very good angle. Yeah, nothing ever goes right on the first run, does it? Everyone talking about the formation lap here. I don't know why we're still sitting on the grid. I have not got the call for a restart yet. I hope they hurry up though. The cameraman's making me dizzy with the way he's shaking that camera. Tixie leaves the session, Mali leaves. Yep, everyone's leaving, right. Let me get ourselves onto... my apologies, folks. I know it's saying Thomas D on the comm team there, but didn't have time to change it, unfortunately. So, yes, we are resetting the lobby. This will take a couple of minutes because obviously we have to get the grid in the order that it should have been. And just while we are waiting here, I am going to be right back. I've just got to sort something here, so the stream will be quiet for a second. Be right back. Okay, we are back, folks. David sending the grid to the server. God bless you, sir. Really appreciate that. And I got my... What are you, my secretary now? Goodness sake, David. You shouldn't. That's okay, it was the invite to the server. Just looking in the tier chat here, folks. Okay, we have 17 drivers in the lobby, so we're waiting on 2 more. And if we can get those 2, then we will be ready. Got a bit of a debate, noticing, in the Pro tier. A lot of people talking about whether full quality is even worth it for the Pros. Well, nothing's happening. I gotta say, I love your profile pic. Thank you. Unfortunately, I can't use it on Discord because I'm not paying for Nitro at the minute. But yeah. Let's see have 19. We have 19 in the lobby, so just finishing setting up the grid and we will be ready to go. Hope no one forgets their setup now. That's a good point, but if they do, it's entirely on them, so, you know. From what we've seen, it should be a dry race. As people were readying up for a second there. Rickety is yet to get in his car. I think there's some debate as to how exactly it was. Benjo's saying it was sunny, but the weather forecast appears to be set for cloudy at the minute. No rain, but cloudy. As Rickety is now in his car, are we getting the call to ready up? Everyone's saying that the weather should be set to sunny. Particularly those saying it was overcast. Tixie saying they've got 5 hours of sleep left before they have to get up for work. Poor old Tixie, I imagine, runs graveyard shift. Oh, Benja's made a good point there in the chat. New tyres, of course, they won't have to use the old softs that they used in quali. If they have softs, everyone will get a fresh set of softs. We're being told everyone to ready up. So I will bring the stream back in a moment for you guys. Final calls of good luck all in the chat as we prepare to go racing. There will of course be no formation lap this time, I don't think. If they do, it'll be a bit of a risk. And yep, just final reminders of setup. Let's get back to the main stream screen. Maybe we see soft, medium, soft. I don't know if they get 2 pairs of softs, David. And from what we saw in the Challenger race yesterday, mediums are... they're not particularly great. Most people saying they start a drop off about lap 7. Maybe you take them to... I mean, a lot of people... I mean, you can take them to lap 14 if you follow Jeff's strategy, but it's not pleasant. So if anything, if you're seeing a 2-stopper with the softs, it might be a medium, medium, soft. The hards are definitely much more competitive tyre than they were in 22 anyway. So they've got that going for them at least. But tyre construction this year, obviously that's why Pirelli did the tyre test in real life, but it obviously hasn't been updated to the game because the tyres do feel a lot more fragile on this year's game. But we wait and see. Can I check, is stream okay, David? Or anyone else in the chat? Yep, seems to be. I tried using them as lighting testing. They're almost at 80%. Right, here we go. 5 red lights. And the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix is go! It's a decent getaway from Perseguili, but Bradley seems to have the better getaway off the line. And Tixie making a strong start as well, as they head down towards turn 1. Perseguili holds the inside line, and is ahead at the corner. They all seem to make it through pretty cleanly. No, I take that back. Tixie has gone well wide, and James Taylor is out as well. Tixie in the gravel, and James Taylor in the wall. I saw the Haas spearing off to the left. Not sure what happened to James, where they just got collected. But they're all slowing down, and we have a full safety car. I did warn them, I warned you guys, that turn 1 on lap 1 is a good chance of accidents, and disaster for Tixie, who started so promisingly, is now down to the back of the grid. Do they have damage? Hard to tell. Do I see? Yes, they're missing an end plate. The left end plate is missing on Tixie. James Taylor is missing a heck of a lot more than that. He is out of the race. So 1 DNF already. So much to your prediction. At the minute it's Persegili held the lead from Bradley. Narista goes up to 3rd. Lil Gluna 4th. Rezer 5th. iCrazy 6th. Benjo 7th. Suyan 8th. Rickety 9th. JTK 10th. Roy 11th. Glissett 12th. Mali 13th, Katasarius 14th, Thomas D 15th, Rocco 16th, Chewy 17th, and Tixie all the way back in 18th. Your big winners and losers off the line. Biggest loser obviously is Tixie and James Taylor, because they both crashed. Most places gained by Rickety, up 4 places, up to 9th. So good start from him. Looking at the tyre compounds, iCrazy elected to start on the softs, and aside from that we've got the same mixtures of hards and mediums. As Chewy gets 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, he must have had damage from turn 1. Any other penalties? Nope, just Chewy. And of course he can't serve them on this pit stop, he'll have to wait until the next one. Tixie is also in the pits to repair damage. It's effectively a free pit stop. They will be allowed to catch back up to the safety car, but they've got a lot of work to do. The possible race strategies coming up there. There's the strategy I was on about, the soft, medium, medium. Failing that, you're going for the medium hard or the hard medium, as Bradley is sitting well out on the right hand side and is revving the engine something fierce. I wonder if he's trying to burn off a bit of fuel by revving the engine, as Burt Mylander would have got a warning for track limits there. Imagine if the safety car has a hidden code that lets it get track limit wings. Imagine if you can disqualify the safety car. Can you imagine the scenes? Then again, it can afford to go wide. The suspension much softer on the safety car. As Tixie is coming through Aqua Minerale now and will catch up. I think we're probably going to have one more lap of the safety car, as the field was not all together by the time they reached Sector 3. And indeed we will. One more lap with Burt Mylander heading the field. And the question now is what can be done on the restart. Let me just look at the tyres again. Bradley's still on the mediums, but the problem is, if Persegili has those hards up to temperature, on the restart, then Bradley will have lost that initial advantage that he had. Of course, he'll be thinking, you know, he was probably hoping to get a good grippier start on the mediums, jump Persegili at lap 1, and then ride off into the sunset. But if Persegili has those hards up to temperature, he will be harder to pass. And what Persegili really needs to do when they restart here is try and get out of DRS range of Bradley. It's like watching 2021 all over again. We've got a Mercedes and a Red Bull vying for the lead. Of course, it's slightly unrealistic in that we had a Williams in 3rd, but hey, you know, what are you going to do? Yeah. As Chewy has actually boxed again to serve that 5-second penalty. Now, does this mean the safety car will stay out for another lap? Does it count him as being close enough? Chewy, I can only assume it was tactical to get rid of the 5-second penalty. And to be fair, if he has the fresh tyres, which he does because they didn't use a set in quali because of the server restart, that might actually be a smart play. He's now basically free on strategy, and he's only just caught up as the safety cars come in, so his tyres will be at optimum temperature. Yes, Chewy had a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane the first time round. So he's gone back in to serve that penalty. And he's on very, very warm tyres as we watch Persigili. He's bolted. And they all pull away. All cleanly across the line, it seems. Persigili got a good getaway. Bradley looks to the outside. But nothing doing on this occasion as they all file through. All seems to be clean so far. Bradley looks to the inside now, trying to get the move done early. And he has done. Bradley takes the lead of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Now he's got to use those tyres while he can and get the advantage. Further on behind, Lil Glona has gotten ahead of Wrestler and is actually dueling it out with him up the hill towards the top. They keep it within track limits just, and Lil Gluna does make that position. We've also got iCrazy trying to find his way around the outside of Aqua Minerale. That's a brave move if he makes it stick, and he has. Well done to iCrazy. He's on the softs, he's on a mission, trying to make headway. The hard compound tyres all seem to be struggling just a little bit. Gap of the front, 0.6 of a second. Persigili keeping him honest as Rickety continues to make moves. He's making a move on Suyan. That is for P8, and Rickety gets ahead before Ravazza. Roy, meanwhile, as Lil Gissa has gone off. Whoa, get under control. Just manages to do so. Must have missed a braking point there. As iCrazy, with the slipstream, gets ahead of Lil Glona even before the braking point and takes back 4th place. Up at the front, the gap still hovering around the 0.6 mark. Closest gap on track at the minute is JTK, who is chasing down Suyan for P9. They're all fairly close. A lot of it's going to come down to the DRS straight, as that's Mali losing the rear and getting all out of shape, and now coming under pressure from Rocco in the McLaren, who's trying to make moves from the back of the grid, already up to P13. Good start from him. Lives to fight another day. Rocco's not brave enough to try and Aqua Minerale. Oh, but he may not have to, as Mali loses the rear again, and Rocco says thank you very much indeed. Now Mali coming under pressure from Thomas D, who's kept his nose clean. The challenger driver, holding his own. Good work by him. DRS should be activated from this lap onwards. And Thomas D, as Persigili sets the fastest lap of the race. Oh, and that's round goes Mali. Now, was there contact there? Thomas D has slowed down somewhat as Tixie goes on through. Chewy is in the pits again. That's his 3rd visit to the pits. Is there a front wing change? No, he's going to the hard compound tyres. This is tactics. That's tactical. Interesting moves from Chewy there in terms of the strategy. Up at the front, the gap is pretty stable. Meanwhile, further back, JTK is still in the thick of it. Under pressure from Roy and also pressurizing Suyan. We ride from the rear view camera of the Ferrari. Great camera shot, this. Sure, it gives me carpal tunnel in my thumb, but hey, it's a great camera angle. See, oh, just a little snap of oversteer coming with Aqua Minerale. We've also got Tixie, who gets past Thomas D again. Thomas D must have gotten back past her again. So he's making a fight of it, is Thomas D. And that was smooth through the chicane. Thomas D not taking everything lying down. He knows he's maybe a bit out of his depth here, but he's prepared to fight. That's what we like to see. Good man, Thomas. As he gets 3 seconds because he's pushing a bit too hard. No, I'm thoroughly impressed with Thomas so far, recovering from a bit of a broken reputation from last year. The less said about Azerbaijan, the better, as Lil Glissa has a look at Tixie. But nothing doing this time. As I said, fighting a bit of a broken reputation, but has done well to mend it so far. He's impressed this year. Certainly doing a better job of mending his reputation than Simon Pagenaud ever did, but anyway. Looking at the rest of the field, the gaps are starting to spread out a little bit. Roy, one of the closest on track, still chasing down JTK and Suyan. These 3 inseparable. As Suyan runs a bit wide. Gap at the front 0.7. The top two pulling away. They're 2 seconds clear of Nara in third place. David, does he still have the penalty by any chance? He didn't stop for a penalty in the pit stops there. Nope, only one of the penalty now is Thomas D. But 4 stops. Chewy has made 4 stops and we're only on lap 7. As Catastrophius now gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And Persegili has lost DRS contact. Has he not? He just kept it within it for that part. We've got yellows in sector 3. That's JTK. Lost it on the final corner. Recovers, but he's down in 16th. Not a good day for the Ferraris. At the same time, iCrazy. What's happening? iCrazy's lost it. At the turn 1 chicane. And has dropped several places. Has lost another one to Tixie now. Tixie on a fight back. JTK in the pits, obviously thinking his tyres are gone. I told you, tyre wear is atrocious around here on this year's game, and a lot of the drivers seem to be struggling with it, as iCrazy will have to ease off to cool those tyres down. And coming under pressure in the meantime from Thomas D, who's still soldiering on, up to P13 now is Thomas, just from keeping his nose clean. Points today would be a mighty statement. Not worthy enough of saying maybe, look, I'm ready for Pro Tier, but certainly to say, look, I'm second in the championship and Challenger at the minute. Do not mess with me. I am ready to fight for this, because he's holding his own. As I say that, I've commentators cursed him. Why is that a thing? God damn it. My apologies, Thomas D. Who else can we curse? Let's try and curse Bradley, because actually he's lost quite a bit of time here. As Bradley, as Lil Gissa picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. 13th, 14th, 15th, all the penalties. Glona, the teammate, gets ahead of Benjo. And Benjo now under pressure from Rezer. Rezer to the inside at the second chicane, but breaks too early. Benjo lives to fight another day. I absolutely, I'm fully aware that's going to get clipped probably. But he's still 15th. As soon as I say that, 16th. That's not a curse that time. That was he was already spun by that point, so that wasn't the me cursing him that time. That was something else. But he needs to just settle himself now. The tires are cooked. Where else are we looking? Let's cut back to Rickety actually, who's made good progress through the field. He's currently 7th. Chasing down Rezer in the Williams for P6. And there's a good little gaggle of cars here. Up to Benjo in P5. Actually, up to Lil Glona in P4. She's not too far away either. Gap at the front, meanwhile. Does Persegili have the run? You can see how quickly the mediums are wearing. It's lap 10, and the mediums are starting to struggle. As Rezer does get ahead of Benjo. Oh, Benjo over the chicane, and he hits him. And someone else involved in that as well. Rickety had to take avoiding action as Rocco gets a 3-second time penalty, and Rickety's in the wall. Oh, that's unfortunate. That was just taking avoiding action. Suyan also gets 3 seconds. Supposedly running wide. Benjo seemed to get away without damage. Poor old Rickety has lost the front wing completely. I didn't curse Rickety that time. That wasn't even, like, that was Benjo I was watching at that point. That was just wrong place, wrong time. Of course, ghosting is off for this league, so he tried to take avoiding action, just nothing doing. Further down the order, Thomas D has pitted. He obviously has had enough of those tyres. As Rickety will drop further back without that front wing. He's keeping decent pace though, minus the front wing. As more penalties pop up. Meanwhile, Rocco taking advantage and picking up where his teammate left off as he does battle with Roy. And Roy having none of it, shoving the McLaren to the outside. It's like, what am I watching? It's like I'm watching Ben-Hur. Old chariot racing with the spikes on the wheels. And we need to stay with them, cameraman. Thank you. Up at the front, Bradley did lose the lead while we were looking at everything else, as Rickety gets 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. And obviously the braking point a bit earlier because minus the front wing. And Persegili now leads this Grand Prix on the hard compound tyres. Those will last longer. And he has more ERS as well. Bradley obviously has burned most of his tyres by pushing. He's still keeping with him. But unlike Bahrain last time out, Bradley really under pressure here and actually having a fight on his hands. Rickety loses out a few positions to the pits. iCrazy up to 13th. Benja is also pitted. Let's get the details on the number of stops. Who is not stopped? Basically everyone at the back. Tixie has also stopped once. And Chewy with 4 stops so far today. Penalties, lots of 3 seconds, and Rickety with the 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Position change wise, Rocco has made up the most as Bradley to the inside. And Persegili doesn't even try to fight that. He knows it's not worth burning his tyres up. He wants to try and run long. He'll stay with Bradley until DRS comes in on the next lap. It's just so powerful around this track. And Bradley now trying to pull away again. But that's the harder challenge. All Persegili has to do is a bit of it's what humans would call pursuit predation. Doesn't matter how fast Bradley runs, all Persegili has to do is match him. He knows he can outlast him. He knows his tyres will last longer, as we see Chewy about to get lapped. He knows the tyres will last longer. All he has to do is follow and keep in Bradley's rearview mirror. Put a little pressure on him. If he wants to get ahead in DRS, that's perfectly fine. Gets him in the cool air, but he knows he doesn't have to make the move and pull away. He can just follow for now. It'll be the second stint where Persegili really has to get the boot down. With DRS, we're right on board with Persegili. Look at the speed difference, even between the hard and the mediums. Slipstream is insane on this year's game, and he gets well clear and retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. Rocco, meanwhile, no wait, Suyan's in the pits. That's why he's moving up. Tixie's made a good recovery, up to P8 currently. Stopped on lap 1, so effectively on well, basically amounts to a one-stop strategy. Has burned through most of their ERS. Tixie up to P8. Dashafias will go past Suyan. Suyan should come out P11. The other gaps on the track actually quite large. It really is this duel at the front that we're interested in. Not just in terms of raw pace, but tactically as well. Was it better to go on the hards earlier on? Bradley still driving, still pushing on them. How much is Persegili conserving the tyres? We cannot see their tyre wear. We don't have telemetry for that. What we can see is that Bradley using a bit more ERS than Persegili. Will he use it here to get past again? He does use it. And now that's interesting. You see, Persegili doesn't even use ERS here. He doesn't even... he knows he can't defend. He knows he's never going to hold that position. So he saves it for other parts of the track to stay with Bradley and come back at him later on. That's smart play as Rickety gets 3 seconds for track limits. Rocco, meanwhile, making his way past Roy under DRS. Rocco is on the charge from the back of the grid with no time set in quali. He's currently P6 and making good progress, albeit with a 3-second penalty. Next up the road is Rezer, 2 seconds clear. Rezer, meanwhile, chasing down Lil Glona, and Suyan gets past Mali, albeit Suyan is on fresh rubber. So, not much of a surprise there. But still, he's doing what he needs to. Also, Codemasters, please nerf DRS, it's kind of ridiculous. And Persegili is staying fairly close with Bradley. He loses out a bit in Sector 2 because the mediums are just grippier by default. But you see he's gaining now in Sector 3, plenty of ERS. And he's going to burn it on this lap, or on the outlap, or on the back straight here I should say. I can't get my words out of my mouth. Open DRS, activates it. Does he not? No, he's not even using overtake. Persegili being very coy with his overtake button. Will it be to his chagrin? No, he does get ahead of Bradley again. Runs maybe a little bit deep. Bradley all over the back. There's no DRS along this straight, and I doubt he'll get him into the chicane, and he does back off quite sensibly. So Persigili harvesting, saving his ERS, making sure he always has that little bit more. And what he really wants to do is, obviously Bradley's going to have to pit first. Whenever Bradley pits, he will want to use his ERS then to get quick lap after quick lap and use up what's ever left of those hard compound tyres, in the hopes that he can get the overcut on Bradley, and then use those fresh medium compound tyres when he puts them on to drive away into the distance. This is a terrific scrap. Well, the position changes in it appear to just be mostly for the pits, as Suyan gets another 3 seconds, and Rickety is chasing down his old mate Benjo. Teammates, once upon a time, if I recall correctly. Good friends, the pair of them, although there'll be no love lost on the track. When the helmet goes on, you have no friends, you just have a teammate and 18 other victims. Back to the front of the row of the grid. Bradley again making the move, but again using ERS to get the move done. Persigili seems more comfortable without using the ERS. Maybe just has a little bit more of a straight line setup. We explain why he falls back in sector 2. And he's keeping the Red Bull in his sights. He's keeping him honest as Glissa is pitting. Let's just check the pit stops actually. Who has not stopped yet? Glissa is pitting now. Mali has not stopped. Our top 3 have not. In fact, our top 5 have not stopped. Mali has not stopped either. And you can see the timers all jumping about on account of all these pit stops. We're on lap 16 here. We've just hit half race distance. And it's Bradley leading from Persigili. The two of them 5 seconds clear of Nara. These two are in a league of their own at the minute. And of course, because last round didn't count, whoever wins takes the lead of the championship. Obviously very early days, but these early days, these early moments can decide championships later on. Who knows, maybe Tixie has a really good rest of the season and loses out because of this result here, as Rezer gets 3 second time penalty. Naughty naughty. Whoever wins here, this could be what decides the championship at the end of the season. Maybe there's a 1 point difference, a 2 point difference, and they'll look back and say, oh, I could have pushed a bit harder. Bradley is going much longer on these mediums than I had anticipated, but if Persigili has this pace, then that means he'll be going longer on the hards than I had anticipated as well. And that means he'll have very fresh tyres at the end. We've got a car going slowly. We've got yellows. That is Mali recovering from a spin. Rickety ghosts through as Mali heads to the pits anyway. Those tyres are done. Benjo overtaking his old teammate Rickety under DRS. It's only for 12th place at the minute. No sign of any major dramas throughout the field. Poor old Chewy will be hoping for a safety car. He's still in 18th, 6 seconds down on Thomas D, and Thomas D 19 seconds down on the rest of the field. But he's trying his best, and that's all we can really ask for. As we come round again, here we go again. Bradley burning ERS. Persigili responding with ERS a little bit this time, just on the exit of the corner. And the gap was somewhat bigger. Bradley not following as well that time. He should get the move done. Goes to the outside, and he is clear well before the braking point. The speed these two are able to carry on old tyres. How old are their tyres? 17 laps. Because none of them, I was wondering if any of them had pitted under SC. Had a wee mind blank there, but no. 17 lap old mediums and hards, and they're still pushing. But you can see, oh, as Bradley loses the rear. The mediums, I think, just starting to fall away too much, even for Bradley. Is this Persigili's moment to strike? Narista, meanwhile, just mentioning them, is having a bit of a lonely race. 23 seconds ahead of Suyan. Granted, they haven't pitted yet, but 6 seconds down on Persigili. Just kind of driving in no man's land at the minute. Whereas these two are now coming up. This is interesting. We're approaching the pit window. I tell you what else. They're approaching lap traffic. Chewy and Mali are ahead. They're just coming across the start-finish line now. Do either of them pit? No, they do not. And both cars pit together. Oh! And Persigili hits the back of Bradley. Was there a penalty there? No penalties. Ah, and there's a front wing change for Persigili. That's just the break that Bradley needed. Now, the question is, was there... It's a tough call. You'd have to say... It really is. It's Persigili's job to make sure he doesn't hit the car in front. And that's actually a real disaster because Bradley comes out P2. Persigili has come out in traffic. He's come out behind Suyan and Lil Glona and Rezer. He's got to fight his way through the field. That was just the break that Bradley needed. I don't know. I don't think Persigili has much grounds to take that to the stewards. Unless he felt... I mean, you can hardly say it was unfair braking, you know. Bradley has to stop in time for the pit lane. As Nara gets 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. JTK's left the session, he should rejoin. I'm afraid I feel that's on Persigili. He's compromised his own race there. Because he really needed to come out ahead of this pack of cars. Certainly, I thought he was actually going to go on longer, to be honest. I thought he would try and take... Oh my goodness, I'm bumping and barging his way. He bumps past Lil Glona, tries to go around the outside of Rezer. He's on a mission. And no sooner has he gotten out of the pits than he's already passed them. On an absolute charge. Meanwhile, Lil Glona, looking to get past Rezer, looks to the inside. Nothing doing on this occasion. Less than a second to Suyan. And the question is now, how much pace do those mediums have relative to Bradley's hards? The gap ticking up slowly. Persigili really needs to get past Suyan in a hurry. Earliest I can see it though is at the end of this lap. So the gap probably going to be about 4.5 if not 5 seconds. Yeah, Rizzer really do be fighting in pro like it be nothing. Yeah, it's going to be under DRS. Persigili will reclaim second place, of that I have no doubt. But has he thrown away the chance of a win? On he goes. Persigili reclaims second. The gap 4.2. 11 laps to go. And Persigili on the quicker rubber, but it's got to last him to the end of the race as well. Well, the gap already 3.9, 3.8. Looking forward to the interview room after this, I've got to say. Looking to the rest of the field, Lil Glona still not leaving Rezer alone. And Tixie, who seems to have stalled a little bit on their comeback, got up to about P9, P8, P9 before the pit stops, and hasn't really been able to make much progress since. As Bradley gets 3 seconds! That could be huge. Because now, Persigili does not have to overtake Bradley. If Persigili can now manage the tyres and get within 3 seconds, he will win this Grand Prix, provided he himself keeps it clean. I've seen him run wide a couple of times, so he must be on at least one warning. As Catastrophes gets another 3 seconds. Fastest lap of the race for Persigili as well. He's really hammering down on Bradley, and Bradley, realising his mistake, has now started to pick up the pace. It is back on, folks. Back on like Donkey Kong. Tixie gets ahead of Roy. Meanwhile, Lil Glona and the two Williams, the teammates battling each other. Narista goes through ahead of Rezer. It's all kicking off. As Rickety is starting to fall back a little bit. He's trying to chase down iCrazy. Into the first chicane. Nothing doing there. Just trying to watch all these gaps. Just over 3 seconds. 10 laps to go. What drama. What excitement. Much closer racing at any point here than we have seen in real life F1. We've got 4 cars all in a row here. 4th right the way down to 6th. And 7th place Rocco also joining in. Sorry, 3rd I should say. This is for a podium. And I'll tell you what. Look who's a dark horse here. Lil Glona, the only driver so far, knock on wood, without penalties. All the others have a 3-second time penalty. At present, Lil Glona would take the podium. Narista doing everything in their power to stop that as they overtake Suyan for 3rd and will now try and pull out a gap. Further on back, Lil Glona just quietly watching. Rocco also arriving to join the party. Lil Glona to the inside. Made Rezer think about it. Rezer went for the defensive move. Persicili is now within 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Rickety is wheel to wheel with iCrazy. They bump and barge. Sparks fly a little bit. Benjo now looking to join in. Rickety losing the rear slightly. We ride on board with Rickety. He's knocking on the door of the points here. Lil Glona looks like they're also making a run. 2/10 the gap. Right on the rear wing of Rezer. And all the time, Rocco is closing up here as well. Gap at the front now, 2.5. Bradley is struggling a bit here at this stage. But is he just keeping something in the tank? He's at 70% ERS. Persicili really needs to hang back a little bit now, conserve those tyres, in case he needs to make a last concentrated push. He doesn't want to burn those mediums out too soon. Meanwhile, as Suyan pits, that's why the queue is building up there. As Lil Glona with the run to the outside, but not quite enough because Rezer just received DRS from his teammate there, although immediately fell back a further 2 seconds. Not quite sure how that happened. As Ricky gets another 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, it's not Rickety's day today. And Rocco creeping up. Roy gets another 3 seconds. Let's just take a look at the penalties. Oh my god. 3 for Bradley, 5 for Nara, 3 for Rezer, 3 for Rocco, 6 for Roy, 11 for Gissa. Suyan has 6, Catastropheus has 6, Mali has 3, Rickety has 8 now, Thomas D on 3 and Chewy on 3. Doesn't stop the great battles happening on track though, as Lil Glona desperately trying to find a way past Rezer because Rocco is now right there with them. Hex saying I'm so good at comms. I do appreciate that, thank you. Took of course inspiration from the legendary Murray Walker. Anthony Davidson's a pretty good one as well. Martin Brundle, James Allen, all have their own style. I like to think I have a bit of a mixture of them all. As Glona pulls out the slipstream onto the right, it's 3 wide down that straightaway, and Rocco just says thank you very much. Does he? No, he doesn't. Glona holds them off. That was fantastic going through there. Glona then moves up to P4. Suyan with 3 seconds of time penalties. And Thomas D gets another 3 seconds. The stewards, clearly the stewards learned from Austria last time out. They're not taking any nonsense this time. The amount of penalties we've got in the field here. But the big one at the minute is that one at the front. And also actually the one in 3rd. Narista with a 3 second penalty. So Glona still potentially looking at a podium if they can close in the gap. Gap is still 2.3. It's stabilized somewhat at the front. But that's not good enough for Bradley. He needs to find another 7/10. He has been saving ERS. And Persicili right there. 2.2 the gap. You can see his rival in the distance. 8 to go, including this one. Meanwhile, Rocco opens DRS. As JTK gets 3 seconds as well. Makes the run. You see the power of the DRS on this track. Even Rezer looking to have another go at Lil Glona. He's held off for now. Meanwhile, Roy also chasing down a driver, that is Tixie in the Haas, who's made a decent comeback. We'll have to find out what happened at the start. There'll be lots of interviews, I imagine, after this, and plenty to talk about. I'm going to need a Strepsil after this is all done, at minimum. And maybe something strong to wash it down with. 2.5, the gap has increased slightly. Bradley now applying the pressure somewhat, or he hasn't used any more ERS. I wonder if Percy Gillies maybe burnt out his tyres a bit. As Rickety snatches the fastest lap point, he won't get a point for it because he's not in the top 10, but he's saying thank you very much, here's the pace that I could have shown. As Benjo now gets a penalty. The only drivers that don't have are Percy Gillies, Lil Glona, Tixie, and I Crazy, and technically James Taylor, but that's because his car is currently behind the barriers in several pieces. We have 4 drivers out of 18 that do not have penalties. Everyone else has a penalty of some sort. I am gonna give them all so much crap in the chat about this. As Lil Glona gets past Rocco, Rocco not taking a line down though, and sweeps to the inside for the next chicane. Does he have a wheel alongside? He does, but thinks better of it. He remembers what happened to E-Day back in 06. Ended up upside down in the gravel trap, pulling a move like that. Ooh, just about to get it stopped, Rocco. As Glona closing up. But the problem, of course, the problem here is now battling with Rocco so much, they're all missing out on the chance for a podium because Narista is 7 seconds up the road, so he gets another 3 seconds. How much do you want to bet we see a disqualification for too many corner cuts before the end of this race? As Rocco tries to weave and sell Glona the dummy, doesn't happen. Up at the front, 2.2 the gap. It's shimmying a bit. I wonder if Persigili just made a slight error. We'll ride on board with Rocco as he goes down into Ravitsa. And will not get it this time. He should get it on this next one. Glona, they're similar on ERS. As Rocco goes through, will Rezer also get through? Look at the closing speed with the DRS. It's not enough on this occasion. Once again, that gap increasing. And it's like a yo-yo. It keeps going back and forth. Now, Narista only 3.5 behind now. She's closed a little bit. Perhaps sensing blood in the water? Are Persigili's tyres making him a walking wounded? Look at the ERS difference. Persigili down to 20% roughly. Bradley on 86. Holding those tyres, all he needs to do is get, I suppose, 1 or 2 good laps, and he'll probably have done enough to take the win. As Lil Glessa gets a 3-second time penalty. Already had one, so we've still got 1, 2... Yep, still the 4 drivers without a penalty so far. I kind of hope that they all do. I want to get a full house. Let's just say if I had a drink for every penalty that was given out this race, I would be comatose on the floor and calling my accident and emergency department. Meanwhile, Lil Glona still in the wars. The number 69 car, nice. Chasing down Rocco, doesn't get through this time though. As the cars, you just sense after a grueling race like this, you sense the tiredness of the drivers and the cars. The tires are screaming, the engines are hot and overheating. There's dust and marbles everywhere. Your arms are exhausted, your legs are exhausted. There's penalties all over the board. Your concentration starts to lapse. You really feel the effort that these drivers are going to as they just push, push, push for every single tenth, every single hundredth, every single little bit. Just thinking one more place. I can get one more point, one more position. It's an epic tale. Every driver's tale is epic in this race. All fighting like lions for every little moment. Even Thomas D has closed the gap down from about 25 seconds. He's only 15 down on Rickety now. So even he's fighting and he's down in 16th. It's a valiant effort from them all. up at the front with 3 to go, including this one. The gap is 2.5, 2.4 now. And Bradley has started to use his ERS, but he's actually coming across traffic now. Now, this could be crucial. This could be crucial. Chewy, it's Benjo actually, that he's come up against. Now, ghosting should be off here, although it's actually come on for lap cars. I didn't realize that that was actually a thing. I'm going to have to discuss with the staff about that, because as far as I was aware, even lap cars shouldn't be ghosting, and they're meant to fight their way through. And Persegili's still right there, 2.5 the gap. There'll be 2 to go after this one. As Rickety retires from the session. Where is he? He's in the pit lane, so there'll be no safety car. Now this is important, Persegili will get DRS. Or he should do. Why did he not get DRS? That's unusual. 2.8 the gap now, as Bradley has burned most of his ERS down that straight. 2.9, it's so close right now. Benjo has also retired from the session. There wouldn't be a safety car at this stage anyway. It's just ticked over 3 seconds. Just back inside it. This is nip and tuck. You look at his ERS. Does Persegili have anything left to give? Tixie's DNF'd. Where's that? At the end of the first chicane, Tixie has blown up in the wall. He's ended up in a spot where George Russell hit Bottas a few years ago. So Tixie's brilliant fight back comes to an end. That moves iCrazy up into the points. 3.3 the gap. And with only 11% ERS, Persegili just has nothing left. And you do sense that maybe Bradley does have this under control, unless he gets another 3 seconds somewhere down the line. And even Narista, well, they have the penalty as well. Rocco in the end has done pretty well in his recovery. He's up to P4, albeit with a penalty, so he'll drop to P5. Good recovery from Rocco from the back of the grid. And now the gap 3.6. Now I think that might be it. I think Bradley measured his pace. He's burned all his ERS now. Persegili also trying to burn everything he's got, but he's burned too much. 3.8 now the gap. And he'll be kicking himself somewhat with Persegili, because based on that pace, he probably had enough to win today. But he broke too late going into the pits, lost his front wing, cost himself time in the pit lane, and it's been a valiant effort, but it's not going to happen this time, unfortunately. Bradley, though, he can hardly say it's been plain sailing today. He's had it tough for this race. But at the end, he was really in control the whole time. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start. As round the final quarter, Bradley Leonards will cross the line to win the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Persegili will come across the line. The 3 seconds will be taken off, and it will be 1.1 over the line. Persegili second. Narista will take third. Will she not? Yep. Thomas D and Chewy are classified as finishers. Thomas D 15th. Good showing from him. Rocco crosses the line 4th, but it will be Lil Glona who jumps him to take 4th. So Rocco 5th. Rest are in 6th. Roy will come across the line in 7th. Suyan coming around the final corner. Yep, only 3 people without a penalty in the end. Suyan will take 8th. Lil Glissa will get 9th. Although 5 seconds added to the time, which means iCrazy moves up to 8th. Lil Glissa gets the final point. Catastrophe is 11th, JTE 12th, and Mali will take 13th. But it's all about these two at the front. The story of the race. Bradley, under pressure, but it was Persegili who cracked under it. And Mali will come across the line now, and that will bring an end to the first scored Pro Series race, and what a race it was. if that's the way they're battling at the start of the year, I look forward to when we get to mid-season, towards the end of the season. Rocco, driver of the day, going from last to 4th, deservedly so. But there's no taking anything away from this man, as he takes the top step of the podium. Persically looking over there, thinking what might have been. And Nara's just happy to be up there, I would say. And as they squirt the champagne, celebrating not only their victory and podiums, but we're celebrating as well because that was a brilliant race and a joyful one to commentate over. So there you have confirmation. Bradley the race winner by 1.1 over the line, including the penalty. Persically second, Nara third, Lil Glona fourth, Rocco fifth, Rezer sixth, Roy 7th, iCrazy 8th, Suya 9th, Catastropheus in 10th. Your non-point scorers, Lil Glissa, JTK, Mali, Chewy, and Thomas D. Tixie does get classified because they crashed in the last 2 laps. Your non-classified finishers, Rickety and Benji also classified. Your only official DNF is James Taylor, who went out on lap 1. So there you have it. I will post the results just very quickly in Tier Chat Pro. And yes, that is it for the actual race. Let me just exit out of the game and we will check who is in the interview room. So just bear with me a second, folks. We'll have interviews in a minute or two. But what a race. Really makes me sad I don't have a co-commentator to actually talk about the race with, but it was great fun to watch. And if you'll just give me 2 seconds here, folks. It's getting a bit dark where I am. Let's get a light on. Fastest lap still to Rickety. Yes, he did set the fastest lap of the race, but he will not get a point because he did not finish inside the top 10. He does, however, deny it from everyone else, so he's got that going for him at least. Okay, let's see here. Let me just get YouTube up on here so that I can see. You could be there next time. Hey, if you want to. I know you said you were going to miss out on the first couple of races. I do not see anyone in... Oh, where's Pro Channel? Where's Pro Channel gone? No one waiting for interview at the minute. We'll just wait in here. No one in the interview room at the minute. Oh, we've got a couple coming in now. Still some debate about whether we should do full quali or not. I'm sure the organisers will discuss that in their own time. We've got one in the interview room so far. We'll just wait a hot minute for everyone else to join. But yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to unpack everything that happened in that race. I mean, it was full on throughout the whole field. You know, throughout the whole thing. Lots to unpack. Lots to talk about. Oh, there. And we're just waiting for a few more. I'm also waiting to get my voice back. I think everyone maybe is a bit too exhausted to do the interviews, to be honest. Because we've still only got one driver in here. Let's see. Where was the result? Well, I mean, we may as well talk to him while he's here. So let's get Catastropheus in here.
Oh,
Catastropheus.
hello everybody.
You're the only driver in the interview room so far. Considering how grueling a race it was, I'm not surprised. David was keeping close watch as well in the YouTube chat. 3 drivers at the end without penalties. Everyone else had a penalty of some kind. So,
Yeah.
Yourself, P10 in the end. A point is a point, but I imagine you were hoping for more. Talk us through your race.
I mean, honestly, I didn't expect more. The pace just was not there, this track. Started on the hards, no traction. Actually, no traction. Like, I remember lap 1, I even went off to a gravel once. So much understeer and snappy in almost every corner. Damage limitation from P16 though to P10. I like the softs in the end.
It's not a bad showing. But were you able to see what happened on turn 1?
In front?
Yeah, because we noticed it was that's when Tixie went off and James Taylor ended up in the wall. I just saw what the Haas spearing off to the right. I wasn't sure if there was contact or anything. Did you happen to see anything from your point of view?
Honestly, I just saw like a Red Bull. What was it? A Red Bull Williams in front of me, nothing else. And then a safety car.
Okay, fair enough. Anything? I mean, do you think it was just? What do you think was causing the lack of traction? Was it just like a missed opportunity with the setup, or were you just, what do you think you need to improve on to get further up the?
It was a combination with setup, with the temperature of the track, and with a hard. It's always a good mixture of no grip. So I mean, it was fun, honestly. Even though hard, it was fun to race. Imola is always always delivers. Yeah, I mean, I was happy with everyone. Everyone had a good race. My teammate had a problem with EA pretty much. He disconnected.
Yeah.
So
JTK. I saw that he left midway through the session. Same thing happened to Mali, I believe, as well. Mali was improving on the final part of Q2, and just disconnected and went straight into the pit lane. So
yeah, I mean,
EA obviously having a few wee hiccups there.
I mean, with my strategy to go very long with the hards, it was quite lonely. But at the point they were like, I had, 50%, 60% hour on the hards, and everyone was like 1 second, 2 seconds faster than me.
Yeah,
it was
tires do seem to be a big thing on this year's game. They seem very soft on their construction. Most tires, even the hards, will just completely die away. That's what we've noticed down in Challenger as well. So I think a few people need to reconsider their setups from going all about outright speed to maybe a bit of tyre conservation for just long-term pace. But anyway, at least you got a point. It's better than nothing.
We'll see. FIA will judge pretty much.
And next,
because with all the penalties that happened, you never know which ones are going to stay and which ones are not.
I think most of them aren't up for debate because it was 3 seconds. If you're out of track limits, you're out of track limits. And
but
a lot of the 5-second ones, the 5-second ones were already served in the pit lane, and we can't really remove those. Plus, most of them were for speeding in the pit lane anyway, which again, you can't really argue with that one. If you're too fast, you're too fast.
You know better than me, actually.
Yeah. Well, not always. Anywho, we'll leave it there for yourself. We've got Bradley, our race winner, waiting in the interview room. We'll get him in as well. But next week is Baku. How do you feel before that one?
One of my favorite tracks. It was for many years. Challenging as always. Penalties are also not exactly penalties, but crashes play a big role.
Yeah, castle section and all that. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I'm actually happy for the next one.
The only thing I'm personally worried about is we saw how powerful DRS was down the main straight here at Imola. God knows what it's going to be like on
Baku.
on Baku.
I have to go and see because setups will differ a lot with
That's true.
low.
That is true.
Yeah, with low downforce setups, you might not see the DRS being so effective.
That is true. But anyway, I'll leave it there with you because my voice is starting to go, so I'm going to get Bradley through the interview and get myself a nice drink. But best of luck for next week and congratulations on the point.
Thank you. Congratulations for the commentaries.
Thank you. Okay, let's get the race winner in then. He seems to be the last one in the interview room. Well, they made you work for that one, didn't they, Bradley?
Yeah, you certainly did.
I mean, compared to Bahrain, which I know wasn't scored, you kind of romped away on that one. Persigili more than kept you honest. Talk us through the battle with you two, because that was basically your entire race, was dueling with Persigili. Talk us through it.
Yeah, in Q3 he was just way quicker. I lost 1/10 in the final corner, but there was no way I could do a 0.7. So really good lap for him. Insane lap. So the start of the race was good. I almost overtook him, but I just backed out because I didn't want to crash, like I believe Dixie and James Taylor did. So I backed off at the first chicane, and from that point onward we were just like boosting each other with the DRS to save our tires, save our ERS, just make a gap to the rest of the pack, so we could have a little fight later on. But that one never came because he misjudged his braking point into the pits. So yeah, you got some wing damage.
I mean, he was right on your tail coming in pits. We have it on the stream there, and he may argue that you broke really suddenly, but at the end of the day, you have to slow down for the pit lane entry. So I don't think he has much of a leg to stand on. Although even then, it was still pretty close because you got the 3-second time penalty for track limits. First of all, tell me, did you get any warnings after that? Because I would have been incredibly worried if you had gotten like 2 extra warnings after that point and you were 1 away from getting another time penalty.
I don't think I got 1 more. Maybe I did, but I'm not certain. I didn't get 2 more, so just maybe 1, but I can't remember exactly. But when he came into the pits, I didn't even know he was coming with me. I expected him to do 1 more lap because he actually had the DRS on me, so he could do an overcut.
Yeah.
He didn't do that, so I was just braking for the pit lane. I didn't really know where to brake because I didn't practice. Didn't practice, so I didn't know where to brake for the pit lane. So I was just braking, and all of a sudden I was just going sideways into the pit lane, and I just about got the car stopped before the line. Otherwise, I was fucked.
Yeah, you were going to get a 5-second penalty. I mean, I don't see him reporting it. I personally, if I was a steward, probably wouldn't give a penalty.
No, we had a chat, and he just misjudged his braking point.
Excellent, but as I even then, you left it very close. Although we were watching on the stream, and we could see the ERS difference. Would you say you were in control after that point the entire time? I mean, the gap was hovering, I think, at lowest around 2.5. Were you confident you had the measure of him?
When I was driving behind him, I kind of get the feeling I was lower on wings. So I knew if he was gaining on me on the straights, he was using his EOS. And that was like that. Most of the time was that the case. The laps before I wanted like 28, 29. So I knew if the last 2 laps I would spam my EOS, I would have a pretty big shot of driving out. I don't know what this EOS was, like the last 4 laps.
Well, he burned in the final part after the pit stop. He burned through most of it. At the time of the last couple of laps, he was down to into the teens. But before that, actually, I hate to tell you, I think he was running lower rings than you were because every time he overtook you on that main straight, he was not using ERS. Believe it or not, we were watching on the stream. He did not use ERS going down that back straight.
Yeah, the slipstream is really overpowered.
It
so
is.
Maybe if you're just driving behind someone, the slipstream just makes you look with lower wings. I'm not sure. But
Possibly,
I saw him gaining like on the straights, so I knew I had the upper hand on the EOS. So I knew if I could keep it around the 2.5 seconds, I would drive him out the last 2 laps. few laps.
Speaking of slipstreams, of course, the next track may well have an impact. Baku is where we're off to next. What do you make of that circuit?
Well,
Like, how are you feeling before before Baku?
Well, I'm okay with the track. I actually quite like it, but I think it's going to be a safety disaster.
From Castle section. And do you think the slipstream will be as powerful? Of course, keep bearing in mind probably a lot of drivers will be running low downforce setups. I mean, it's powerful at best at times around there anyway, but with this year's game,
it's going to be powerful, but I think of course you run lower wings there, so the drag is already lower, so you can't. I think the straight is longer, so it's going to be difficult. But here you of course run high downforce, so the slipstream gives you a way bigger advantage on high downforce tracks than on Baku. I think I didn't try it yet, so maybe I'm just talking bullshit right now. But I think it works like that. So yeah, we'll see, and I hope we can have a good battle again.
Here's hoping, because that whole race was an absolute cracker. But yeah, on that note, I don't really have much, unless you want to add anything else.
No,
obviously everyone.
Congrats to Pasagili. He really made an interesting race today.
Look forward to seeing you two battle again, and Tixie as well probably would have been in there had it not been for whatever happened on lap 1. Unfortunate for Tixie, because they were making you work hard as well, particularly in quali. We'll never know what would have happened during that race with them. But anyway, I'll let you get a bucket of popcorn and go and watch the absolute dumpster fire that is Tier Chat Pro. There seems to be some kind of argument going on there.
Yeah, very nice.
And on that note, I will bid the stream farewell. We have seen a thrilling race today, and that's the first scored one, because obviously Bahrain was cancelled, for want of a better word. So,
are we sure now?
Sorry?
Are we sure it's like counting, or?
No, it's not counting. Bahrain is not counting. This is counting.
Yeah, I know, but like, is this one like counting? Like
yes, this one is counting. All the rules were double checked. This one is counting. So you are leading the championship.
Thanks for letting me know.
But if that's the way you all are battling at the start of the season, this is going to be a very, very good season indeed. And one to watch, hopefully through the ages. So, but on that note, we've done all we can here today. So it's goodbye from me, and it'll be goodbye from our championship leader and race winner as well. And we shall see you all next week in Baku, in Azerbaijan. Until then, have a very good evening, and have a